Good evening. Calling the school committee to order. Thursday, January 11th, 2024. First item is the statement regarding recording.
Good evening. This meeting will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube and other social media platforms. By participating in this meeting, you understand that the recording could contain your video stream or your audio stream, including images of yourself or anyone in the room with you, if you choose to enable your video or audio device during the meeting, as well as anything or anyone else that may be in the background could be recorded. Recording could include any opinions you contribute and anything you say about yourself. On occasion, chat within the meeting could also be captured in the meeting recording. Therefore, anyone attending the recorded meeting may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call for school committee attendance.
It's there, 1-4. Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willanen?
I'm here.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Ms. Cartier? Hopefully she'll be here tonight. Ms. Chamberlain?
Here.
Ms. Chafee? Mr. Wigler?
Here.
Mrs. Thompson? Mr. Nutter?
Here.
Mr. Jean-Francois? To Whitelaw?
Here.
Ms. Coviello?
Here.
And Chairman Brophy.
Here. I'm going to ask my colleagues, the school committee, I'm going to ask for some adjustment on the agenda in a minute. I'd like to do the approval of minutes of December 14th. Then I'll ask for your permission and approval if I can go out of order on the agenda. So the first item is the approval of minutes.
Oh. Second.
Second, okay. Are there any potential omissions? Deletions? Hearing none, roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willanen?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Abstain.
Mr. Wigler?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman.
Yes. If it's okay with my colleagues, school committee colleagues, we have students this evening, and I'd like to be able to move the Student Advisory Council to be the first item of business. Seeing and hearing no objection, over to the superintendent.
So tonight we are very excited to introduce some kindergarten students from Hardwick Elementary School. This is quite a late night for them, I might add. So Miss St. George,
Yes.
I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. So we have invited some of our kindergarten students and our kindergarten teachers here tonight. Just because when we think about kindergarten and where they come in at the very beginning of the year, they are just starting to be learners, and they have so much that they learn in 1 year. And so one of the things that we wanted to showcase tonight was a really big accomplishment, because they come into kindergarten not being able to read, and they leave being able to read and write, and with a lot of different skills. So two of the programs that we currently use, we use Heggerty to teach phonemic awareness. And phonemic awareness is really kind of the building blocks of learning to read. It is a future predictor of how kids will read later on in life. And that just really means being able to isolate and manipulate sounds in words that they hear. The other one, and we use the Heggerty program for that, and we're going to show you a little bit about what that looks like with our students. They're going to model for us today, right? The other one is the phonics piece, where they're really looking at letters and sounds and being able to really kind of decode those sounds and prepare them to read. And we use the HMH curriculum for that. So we have Mrs. Becky Peliquin here and Miss Kaylee Laughlin. Those are our kindergarten teachers. And our students, we have Summer Cloutier. Can you say hi? Josephine Pados. And Harper Francoeur. So they are teachers are going to guide them through some of the Haggerty exercises that they do in the classroom each day, and then some of the activities that they do in our HMH curriculum in teaching them how to read. So I'm going to pass it over to you guys. I think Jess, you have that presentation for us, correct? You want that, you guys can stand.
All right, I'm gonna stand this way so they can see me and you guys can see the words on the board. Great. So Shelley already kind of talked about all of our curriculum. We're gonna do a couple activities. One is a beginning sound activity, which starts to help kids listen to the sounds and words, which is really important for reading. We'll do a phoneme segmentation activity where they chop the sounds and words. Listen for the middle sounds in words. We'll use a hand motion for that as well. And then we'll do some blending. And then last, we're going to do 2 phonics activities where the children will blend the sounds and words to read a CVC word or a short vowel word. And then we'll read a couple of sentences. All right. All right, ladies, which word begins like yesterday? Singer or yellow?
Yellow.
Yellow, right? Yesterday and yellow start with yeah. Which word begins like atlas? Baking or appetizer?
Appetizer.
Appetizer and atlas. Yeah. Which word begins like octopus? Ostrich or gather?
Ostrich.
Ostrich and octopus. Good job. Which word begins like upper? Us or never? Us and upper. Good. Which word begins like diamond? Cactus or deeper? Diamond and deeper start with that. Good job. All right, so we're gonna get our choppers ready. Ready? Okay. I'll say the sounds and you put it together. Good job. Add. Good job. Egg. Good job. Id. Good job. Ought. Good job. This next one, we're going to do a roller coaster hands. Ready? We're going to listen for what's that middle sound. So your word is rug. Good. Dash. Good job. Nod. Much. Stop. Last one. Gem. Good job. Okay, this time I'll give you the word and you chop it into the sounds. Okay, choppers. Ready? Your word is yes.
Yes.
Your word is fun.
Fun.
Your word is pet.
Pet.
Very good. Zip.
Zip. Zip.
Last one. Dot.
Dot.
Good job. All right, so now we're gonna blend some words. You girlies are gonna need to look up there so you can see those sounds, okay? So actually, you're gonna be in the way if I stand up here. You're gonna say the sounds, ready? Sounds like, I need to tap it. It's blend. Lid.
Lid.
Another one. Sound. Blend. Good job. Sound. Sound. Blend. Good job. Sound. All right, so now we're gonna read a sentence. Okay, ready? So, sometimes when we read these, we'll use like marker to tap. I think I'll just do like little claps. When I clap, you can read that word. So I'm gonna point to this word, think it in your brain. Word. The. We're gonna say, read the word in our brain.
Cub.
Cub. Let's, we have the cub.
Dog.
Doug. So it's a the cub Doug. All right, ready, next one.
So-
I.
Yeah, so when you have different fonts, it doesn't have the top or the bottom, so it confuses, like that is an I at the beginning of that. So if it's an I, it means that, there you go.
Good job. All right, do this one.
Got.
Got a nut.
Good job.
It got a nut. Good job. Great. Do you want to do 3 more? All right, we can do
Okay.
it. Ready?
The. Cub.
Cub. Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Bit.
Bit.
The.
Last one.
Nut.
Nut. The cub bit the nut. All right, how about this one?
That's another. Oh, you know.
It
Was.
was
Bad.
bad. It was bad. Last one.
The. Cub. Dog.
Good job.
Done. The cub done. Good job. Good job.
Fantastic. I have a quick one question. How does it feel to be a reader?
Good.
You,
Does it feel?
the middle,
How about you, Josephine?
Good.
good.
And Harper, how does it feel?
Good.
All right. So this is the beginning. Are you very happy and enthusiastic to read?
Are you excited to be a reader and learn?
Yes. Thank you.
Great job.
Anyone else? One more hand for everyone.
Wow, hugs
Wow.
all around.
Would you like to come back next in the spring and read again and show us how you improved?
See how even more? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Then it's a date.
Okay.
It's a date.
For a girl that said she wouldn't be able to, huh?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
you
for bringing
very much.
them. Maybe it'll be light out when you come next time.
Hey.
All right, so next, we're gonna,
Dr. Al?
oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, you're good. I just.
But I think to bring them. Yes. Outstanding. And I think the administration, the teachers, really to be commended. These kids, 5, 6 years old, 5 years old?
5.
Some may have turned 6, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to come here and do this in front of, I'd say adults, but old people for goodness sake. David, I'm not talking about you. But I think this is terrific. This is what our district is about, is just doing it. I mean, look, we got these guys representing us at the state and so forth. Just, this is good.
So we're going to continue with that. And we're going to go from one end to the other. So Samantha Doobie is going to share with us her IB CAS project presentation.
Okay.
But before you do, I'm really curious, Sam, is that how you learned to read when you were in elementary school? Do you remember that specifically or not? No. Isabel and Nick, what do you guys think? Yeah, so this is a return when they talk about that science of reading. This is a science of reading approach that we're implementing that many of our students didn't have when they were in elementary school. But I'm sure Mrs. Roy remembers teaching very much, right? Back in the day?
No more Spot and Puff.
Or Dick and Jane.
No Dick
Spot
and
and
Jane.
Sally.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a balanced approach. They do different things where they learn their sight words as well. So it's a little bit of both. But I'm excited. I love the idea of them coming back at the end of the year because I think you'll be amazed. They don't need the cues from the teacher to read at that point. So, Sam, we are ready for you. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. This is my CAS project.
Sorry.
Can you go back?
Sure.
Okay, so CAS in IB stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service, but the name of my project is the Comfort and Support Project. I'll get into why I named it that later, but. My name is Samantha Doobie. I'm a senior here at Quabbin. Last year, my second week of junior year, I talked to Mr. Real Martin about some of my classes, and he brought up the IB diploma. And I thought it would be really cool to push myself further in school with classes, because I just kind of took the easy way out and did a bunch of electives junior year. But then I joined 5 different IB courses, including 3 HL and 2 standard level courses. I'm the only IB diploma candidate at Quabbin between the junior and senior class. And I'm here to talk about my CAS project, the steps, how I created it, and the stages I went through, and then the actual day itself when I did the project. Skip this. Okay, so what my project is I'm a part of Wing Crew, which is basically freshman orientation. Only upperclassmen is a part of that, so juniors and seniors that hold a good academic standing. And it's 20 of us, and we spend 2 days over the summer together training, and then once a month we meet to meet with the freshmen and help them embark on their high school journey. Since COVID, 6th graders have been the newest addition to Quabbin. And they're kind of isolated in their own wing up in the middle school. And I knew that I wanted my project to be with 6th graders specifically. And with them being in their own wing, they're split into 2 cohorts when I talked to Miss Olson and Miss Poulin. This is their first year as 5 towns in such a big school, and especially at such a little age, or a young age, being 10 or 11. So I wanted to help them feel more welcome at Quabbin, and I feel like they need it more than freshmen need it because they've already been together for 2 years. But I wanted them to get to know each other before potentially spending the next 7 years together at Quabbin. I started the project in April of 23. In the spring, I spent most of my time brainstorming how I would create more of a link group type thing for the 6th graders. I wanted all of the students at Quabbin to feel comfortable and supported throughout 6th grade. I started in 7th, but throughout 6th grade and all the way up to senior year, I knew when I was a sixth or seventh grader here at Quabbin, the high schoolers scared me. So I did not want that for like such young kids. I wanted like them to feel supported, not only by their teachers or their seventh grade peers, but also high schoolers who have already been through everything that they're about to go through. And I knew the goal of my project was to make something that could happen and like be carried on throughout the years and not just say, it was just for my CAS project to help me get the diploma. So. Steps was, my first idea was to look at how sixth graders were introduced at Quabbin. So I know that in the spring, the fifth graders do a step-up day here, but I didn't exactly know what that like looked like because obviously I had one coming into seventh grade, but that was almost 6 years ago and I don't remember that. But I reached out right away to Miss Madden, who's in charge of the sixth grade step-up day, and I knew my goal of the email to her was to somehow be a part of it and shadow the eighth graders who are in National Junior Honor Society that do step-up day. She allowed me to shadow 2 of them during the day, and during this time, I like took note of the schedule of the day, how like the students interacted with them, and like what they did on step-up day to show their new school. Okay, so I went to the meeting with the National Junior Honor Society, the first one that happened for Step Up Day. They got to pick what group they had, which I think was like a little unfair because like the 2 girls that I shadowed, they chose their younger sibling or cousin that were in their group, so that was like already kind of biased on what they were gonna do. The 2 eighth graders, since they like knew people in their group, they tended to talk more to the ones that they knew and kind of just like ignored the ones that they like didn't know as well. So then they'd like look to me and ask me questions, and I'm like, I'm only here to shadow. I'm a junior. I'm not in eighth grade. I'm not here to answer questions. So you have to ask your leader. And then, but overall, the day went smoothly, and like the introduction to Quabbin, I'd say it was pretty solid. So. My next step was I reflected on the day and I started to think about things to do during the school year. So I reached out to the sixth grade team, which is like Miss Olson, Miss Poulin, Miss Zelnaritis, and with the ideas that I had to do. And then I originally sketched out this idea of doing something 3 times a year. So I just wasn't sure like how that would look with middle school and high school being on 2 different schedules, like bell schedules. I didn't know how that would look. And with the sixth graders, like there's still differences, like our grading system's different, so I didn't know how to go about like certain things that like we had that they didn't, or that they had and like we don't have. So I wasn't sure how that was gonna work, but when I met with the sixth grade teachers, I had them give me ideas on things to consider and like what was going on in sixth grade, because as I mentioned earlier, like sixth grade's stuck in their own wing, and like they're not stuck, but they have their own wing and they don't like really use the 7th and 8th grade wing like you do when you go to middle school. And the high schoolers are in the high school side of the school, so we don't hear much about what happens through 6th and 8th grade. And so with their help, this was so we could relate it to their school life and what was going on. And the things that the teacher mainly requested was they were stressed over their grades, getting through 6th grade itself, the lack of their friends or friends in general, because again, this is their first year as 5 schools like in one. Being such a big school compared to their small elementary schools. And then the number one thing all the teachers said was how to teach them to walk in the hallway, because we all know that is the biggest problem even with seniors. So.
Oops, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I met with the 6th grade team at the beginning of September to come up with a time period to start. We all agreed on a half day in October, so we did October 18th, and we thought that, like, I was a little behind meeting with the 6th grade teachers, but it worked out perfectly that it was later in the school year because it gave the high schoolers time to adjust into their new schedule of 2 semesters. It gave the 6th graders to adjust with, like, the 5 towns being in one and getting used to their schedule and, like, their hallway and everything. So, like, being a month into school and doing this was like the perfect time to do something because everyone was like adjusted at this point. So then I emailed Miss Ferragamo in the Blue House office for all the list of the sixth graders. Wait, can you go back?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry. If I can figure out how to go back, wait a minute. Sorry. Okay.
I ended up by using 15 high school students, so I used a range of freshmen, juniors, and seniors. I talked with some high school teachers, Mr. Gilmartin, and we agreed that sophomores would kind of blow my project because they were still, I don't know, at that point they were worse than the freshmen. I saw being a part of the Link Group, they were still crazy. But so I wanted this project to go smoothly, so I did not use sophomores. And everyone that was chosen was with thought, so they were either in National Honor Society, which is juniors and seniors, Link Crew, or National Junior Honor Society. So they all had some like meaning, so like good academic standards. They like had some good relationship with teachers, and like they were responsible and trusted. So I knew that like I wouldn't have to worry about them.
Okay.
So the next step was I got the list of sixth graders and broke them up into 12 groups. This took like 6 hours because I typed their group and divided them into 2 groups then, which is 1 through 6 and 7 through 12. And I get all the high school students approved, and then I started to break them up into 7 groups, 1 being in the gym, and each high school group had to be a different grade, a different gender. So like there's a senior with a freshman, a junior with a senior, a freshman with a junior. So it's kind of like, and it was like a boy and a girl. So that way you'd have like, and it was like athletic or like athletes and like academic people. So that way you had like a variety of what the high school has to offer too, but also you see it in different standpoints of like, oh, we have a senior who may have senioritis right now, and we have a freshman who's just starting their high school and just finished middle school. So you had like all the different perspectives of like the different years to like look at. All the groups were very random, so like all the sixth graders were very like random. I literally just took the list of 185 names and went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 until I went through all of them, and that's how they got put in their groups. And then the point of that was so no one felt left out. And I made sure like no relatives were together. So like one of the freshmen, they had a sister who was coming into sixth grade and she requested to be with her. And I was like, no way. So like no one knew who they had, which was good. So the day itself, the part of the day was that at 8 a.m., all of the sixth graders got called down to the high school gym. From 8 to 8:15, I introduced myself, what the point of the day was, and why they were just randomly taken out of class. What Quabbin has to offer, not only in sixth grade, but 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. To go into the day judgment-free because, like, they were all scared of friends or, like, socialization, so, like, keep it open-minded because this is 5 schools and you are broken into 2 cohorts, so you don't know the other people yet. So as I mentioned, I broke the groups into like 1 through 6 and 7 through 12. So 1 through 6 was group A and 7 through 12 was group B. So group A started with the high school students. So I did 6 groups of high school students, and they were all up in the 6th grade classrooms. And then the 7th group that I mentioned was in the gym. So group A was with the high school students in the classrooms, and group B spent the hour in the gym. And then from 9:15 to 9:20, we rotated group A and group B. So that way that everyone could get everything. And I broke them up like that so it wasn't too hectic, and I kept like each group like at a maximum of 16 sixth graders so that it wouldn't be too crazy for 2 high schoolers. And then from 9:20 to 10:15, I just switched so group B was with the high school students and then group A was with the other high schoolers in the gym. And in the gym, they did different activities with the 2 high school students and Miss Jenkins by law. And then from 10:15 to 10:25, we did like a huge closeout and like a thank you. activities. So each group had a sheet with activities on it, which included instructions and things to talk about. And as mentioned, I'm a part of Link Crew, and with the freshmen, we were broken up into groups, and the first thing we do is introduce ourselves, and obviously us being high schoolers and then being sixth graders, we have no idea who each other are. So it was very important that we did introduce ourselves. And since I took both cohorts of sixth grade and randomly mixed them up, I knew names were like the most important thing. But I did not use the same exact activities from it. And then we did like an alphabetical lineup, so to make sure like the sixth graders were paying attention. And then the third activity was a life story to get to know each other. The fourth was all about success, and then the fifth and final was how to walk in the hallway. And then this is like what they looked like in the room. And then that was one of the activities in the gym. So breakdown of each activity, introductions, so like the high schoolers would say their name, grade, town, and a fun fact about themselves. And then sixth graders would state their name, town, and a fun fact. And then the alphabetical lineup, the high school student would choose a starting point. Like they would say like, okay, A is over here, and like Z ends over here. And it was silent. So they had to line up in order in silence. Hopefully they were paying attention. The point of that was like, one of the main things, so like we did an activity and then we reflect on it of why like it was important. So the point of like the alphabetical lineup was to like show that if you're like struggling in silence, like it's not gonna get you anywhere, and like it is helpful to talk. So like some people would be like use their fingers and be like, oh, like I'm an A or like I'm a C. And so like they were communicating in other ways and finding other ways to be successful with each other, which was like the whole point of the activity. On our life stories, the kids were given a sheet of paper and they on their own had to figure out how to make 5 boxes out of that sheet of paper. And they were given 5 questions to either write or draw, so their favorite toy from their childhood. If you could have any superpower, draw a special memory from your childhood and what you hope to be when you grow up and who your role model is. And then we would like pair them randomly with somebody else, and then they share, and then we'd like pair them again randomly with someone else, so they would share, and then we'd come back and someone, like some groups had them like share a fact about someone else that they learned, or some groups just had them share a fact about themselves. So it was just like all about getting to know each other. And then the next activity was success. So as I mentioned earlier, like some students, or like most of them, were scared about their 6th grade school year and getting through 6th grade. So I wanted like, and the whole point of this was to be successful throughout like not only 6th grade, but like down the road too. So they were given a half sheet of paper with 2 questions. The top was like 3 things that may be causing stress right now, and then 3 goals you have for the school year. So then each student like shared, we kind of did this in like silence, and then each student shared like 1 goal and 1 stressor. And then at the end, when everyone shared out, we all like brainstormed ways to like manage stress, like managing homework, like, or like having good grades at the end. And like a lot of people talked about, well, if you do the smaller assignments, like it'll build up. If you don't do so good on a test, like your grade won't deplete that much. Or if you're struggling, like ask peers for help, ask teachers for help, like, and you don't have to just use your 6th grade teachers. Like now you have like all 15 of us high schoolers that you can also ask. You have like the 7th grade teachers, and I would like emphasize that nobody at Woburn like wants to see you struggle, and they're all here for your success, whether you're scared to talk to them or not. Like they're all here for you. And they all want you to succeed and graduate in 6 years, whether you graduate from Quabbin, Money Tech, Pathfinder, wherever you go, they all want you to graduate when you reach 12th grade. And so then we managed to talk about things that stress you out and how not to get so stressed, and then how to meet your goals as well.
Whoops, sorry.
And then walking in the hallway, I just left this up to the high schoolers of how they wanted to do it. most of them just did it by taking their group into the hallway and showing them, this is the right side, and if you stop, you're gonna get bombarded, you're gonna get yelled at. Especially in the high school, it is the biggest complaint I hear from day to day, stopping in the hallway. It's like, a lot of people, I heard the analogy, it's like a road, you don't drive on the left side unless you wanna be hit, and then you just walk on the right. Don't stop in the halls, and how to walk up and down the stairs. Like, I had to go back and forth between the high school gym and the groups, and the 7th graders just knocked me out on those stairs going and passing time. So I think everyone could use that lesson. So in the gym, Miss Whitelaw and Miss Jenkins did an activity on what you would choose. So Miss Whitelaw and Miss Jenkins are part of like the club and drug. So they did it on what you would choose. So it's like, because in the gym there was 85 6th graders just like in there working together. And it was like they would ask a question and everyone would be in the middle. And it was like, if you choose this, go on this side, or if you choose this, go on this side. But don't be influenced by your peers, because if like, even in any any position that you're in, like school-wise, if your friend is taking this class but you don't like it, like you're gonna have to suck it up now and take it. Or like with drugs, if your friends are doing this but you don't feel comfortable, like are you really gonna follow them in that path? So they spend like a good while doing that. And then the games in the gym consisted of popping balloons. So there was the 7 through 12 were still broken up in like the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 groups. So like they had like their teams in the gym. And then, so one of the activities was balloons. There was chairs and they had to like run and sit on the balloon. And then I think the second group just used their backs to pop the balloon. And then they had scooter relay races, hula hoops. So like you stand in a circle and like held hands and tried to like get the hula hoop through without unleashing your hands. And then everyone taking their shoes off. So all 6th graders were told to wear sneakers. Everyone took their shoes off and threw them in the middle, and you had to go and find your shoes, put them on, and tie them on, or tie them, and then run back. And like whoever's team had all their shoes on and back on. And then, so the next steps of this project. So my goal is to meet with the 6th graders 3 times a year. So once was after the first round of progress reports, which was October 18th. Right around the beginning of quarter 3, and I just met with Miss Olson. We're meeting February 14th. And on that sheet, the half sheet of paper of the goals and the stressors, a lot of them was socialization, friendship, and like keeping their friends from elementary school, making new friends going into like their 7th grade year. So we talked a lot about different ways we can like help each other. So our next meeting on the 14th, we're gonna do like, when they're in with the high schoolers, we're gonna do friendship bracelets and crossword puzzles working together. And then like spaghetti towers. So you have like 10 pieces of spaghetti, 4 marshmallows, and 6 pieces of tape. And you have to work together. They're gonna have partners. You're gonna work together to build that tower as high as you can. And then without like anything supporting it, but like you have to use each other to build the tower, because if you don't, you're gonna fail. So that's all about like friendship and working together. And then the third time I want to meet with them is a field day at the end of their 6th grade year, like congratulating them. They made it through 6th grade, and now you're on to like the bigger part of the school, with middle school, when your grade system changes and like everything else. So when the day was done on Wednesday, I had all of the high school students fill out a reflection form, so that when we meant to meet for brainstorm for the next time for 6th graders, we could still use those ideas. And then I'll work with the 6th grade teachers to like still build on for like more days and ideas. And I've already talked to the juniors. They plan on taking it over next year, so it was a huge success.
Dr. Allen.
Yeah, I have a comment and question. I see our logo, Be Quabbin, Be Kind. This is just an outstanding operationalization of the Be Kind. In 1957, when I was a freshman at Barry High School, the initiation for boys was to have their head dunked in the toilet. Now, I think this is a far superior approach to that. And I hear things, you were talking about helping them with their homework and how to figure. We had a speaker lived in Barry, he passed away now, but he used to go to big conferences. And he was a speaker who was trying to influence and inspire and so forth. And he had a saying, it's hard by the yard, but it's a cinch by the inch. And it seems to me that's sort of what you were doing. And Purnima, I was hearing some of the ideas that you've brought to the school in this approach. I don't know how much you've talked back and forth or influenced this, but when you were talking to us about feelings and ideas and how to operationalize this sort of thing, I could see you there. And what you were doing, and this is my question, I do have one. This is not sitting in a classroom, listening to a teacher, but this is being creative, management, operationalization of ideas. This goes so far beyond just taking notes and answering test questions. It seems to me that you created an idea, you took it, you ran with it. How do you feel about this as opposed to just sitting in a classroom and listening to a teacher? Because I'm very impressed with your problem solving of the whole thing.
I think it's one of the bigger and better things that I've done, and I just want to leave an impact on Quabbin. And in like I said, in 7th grade, I was terrified of high schoolers. They're always don't come into high school. But I think that Quabbin needs to be one big community and work together to be successful. Because I've worked with in my classes in high school, you have freshmen, you have sophomores, you have juniors, you have to work with them, you have to get to know them. So I think getting to know each other before even being just a freshman is a huge part. And I think having the 4 different grades help me with this is huge. And I think it's way more important coming together as 10-year-olds for the first time with now 185 other kids. I think it's huge knowing that people want you to succeed and want you to get to know each other at such a young age. And don't wait until you're a freshman to get to know everyone in your career.
Well, I guess I would like to say thank you, because I think what you did operationalizes this Be Kind. It took a problem that you perceived and worked on solving it. What a wonderful kind of thing. Very well done.
Thank you.
Anyone, Mark?
Just a quick question. How's being an IB diploma student impacting your thoughts and search for college? Or is it? I mean, I'm wondering.
One of the things that I was not told when I joined the diploma was that only Ivy League schools accepted it. You can get some money off for some colleges, but I think I've looked at just schools through the program I want to go through, not the diploma. I look at the diploma now as a way to challenge myself as a student and push my thinking further, and it's just benefiting me because the papers I'm writing, I'm writing 4 huge papers right now. One that's 4,000 words, one that's almost 2,000 words, and my HL English essay. I think it's just helping me so I'm a better writer when I have to go to college and have these English seminars or these. I only went to child psychology for pediatric cancer patients, so I think when I have to do those huge tests, I think it's just going to help me be able to develop my thinking and writing as a college student.
Actually, you're right. Being able to write is somewhat of a lost art And I think that being able to do that in college is really gonna provide you a successful career.
Dr. Allen? And
Yeah,
then
what
Lee-
college?
then Lee?
What colleges are you applying to?
I've applied to 12 different ones. I applied to University of Tennessee, Vanderbilt, University of Memphis, Roger Williams, University of New England, Bridgewater, Johns Hopkins, George Washington, and University of Alabama, and I think another one.
You'll have a new football coach if you go to Alabama.
Lee?
Yes.
I'm just curious, have you personally taken anything out of this? Obviously, you put a lot of time into it and a lot of great stuff, but have you been able to sort of take this project and kind of just push it aside and just you yourself sort of contemplate, if anything, what you've taken out of this? Or maybe you're still too close to the project because you're still working on it. Maybe you haven't been able to do that yet because sometimes that's a little difficult. But I'm just curious if, the day before you started the project, are you somehow different now or accepting or rationalizing differently than you might have been before?
I think it's like a big thing. Like I said earlier, like getting to know all of your peers before you're like mixed up in 10th grade. And I just think it's, I don't know, I wish I had that going into 7th grade, other than just being like thrown in classes, 5 different schools. I think, yeah.
Well,
So I was actually fortunate enough to be involved, to be one of the leaders with a 6th grade group. And when the whole day was really well organized. And doing the activities with the 6th graders, that name activity was crucial because I walked in there and I did not know any of the kids' names. And when we did the one about what goals they have and what stresses they have, a couple of kids were like, well, some of the goals I have are also some of the things I'm stressed about. And me and then the freshman leader that I was with, we told them, well, it's good that you're stressed about it because that means you actually want to get it done. And we explained to them, we talked about how like the grading system, not necessarily the grading system, but how their grades are kind of what it is that they do. And we kind of discussed with them strategies as to how they can manage being able to kind of complete their work and understanding it. And we explained to them that as you kind of get older, you get more strategies, you learn how to manage your time better, and that it's not, you don't have to learn it all at once. It's a stepping stone. You will get there, and that they do not have to worry too much about that. And I think it was just great. And the kids were also really good too in doing the activities as well. And especially considering kind of how they were already adjusted to school. So some of the kids were like, oh, we're not doing any schoolwork today. And I was happy to tell them no, they weren't. And other than that, it was great. And I think the kids also really enjoyed it too.
fantastic. Anyone else?
I think Purnima had something she wanted to share.
Purnima?
Oh, I have so much to say about Samantha. I had to shorten my text. I sent it out to everybody, but Samantha, we're really proud of you. I know Mr. Gilmartin wanted to send a great shout out. You're a prime example of a student who has left a legacy for us. You've left the bar high for mentoring our 6th grade,
You're breaking up.
assimilating our
There we go.
students, and really allowing them to immerse themselves with the older students. And you've set the stage for other similar projects moving forward. So we are really, really proud of your work, and you did a wonderful job tonight. You can see your passion in this, from the idea to the structural level to the organization. communication, getting students involved, and really like a seamless day for our students. So well done and really proud of you.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Samantha? Samantha, I just want to make a couple of comments. Your presentation and your work on this project, not only did you took it personal and said, how can I make a difference? You brought in various leaders. You used your criteria to bring who you were going to be part of your team. All I want to talk is just say, you understand a sense of belonging. You are trying to bring a sense of belonging to sixth graders to be able to say you're part of 100, you said 185 students. A meaningful transition. You spent time, energy, thought, and you still have February 14th and then a spring. I think you said three meetings. And then lastly, I want to make a point is you are really helping. And now you will see this and continue this, and maybe not you yourself because you'll be moving on. But I think you'll make your own impression on here, and it will grow, it will continue. And I want to say that you are helping kids develop not only a sense of belonging, but a sense of good footing. That is so important for 11-year-olds who have no clue of that. But what you're doing of meaningfulness. And lastly, when I and we, and there were people around here, think about when you were 11, 12, 13. You want to jump stairs. You want to jump down a few stairs. You want to jump upstairs. I may want to slide. You know, you think of these other things of your approach to a building that's supposed to have a sense of order with 1,000 or 800 kids passing through. So I just wanted to say your meaningfulness, your purposefulness, and your project made total sense. And not only do you have extremely excellent grounding skills yourself in communicating as well. So I want to commend you. And again, I know I like to invite, maybe in the spring at the end, would you be able to bring a final little synopsis to us as well? Would you be willing for that?
Yes.
Maybe bring a sixth grader with you. We could hear from them. I just want to thank you, Samantha. Great project, but I also just want to call out the teachers in the room.
Absolutely.
So I know this is very important to Samantha, so I'm going to speak about this a little bit, but we hope that all of our students have supportive staff behind them. And I know Samantha feels that way. And I just want to thank Mrs. Olson and Mrs. Roy for being here, because Sam talks about seventh grade and how overwhelming that was. And I know she's got a rock in the room that's been behind her since then. So that's what we hope to give all of our students at Quabbin. So thank you so much for doing that for our kids. And we'd love to see a sixth grader about to approach seventh grade at the end of the year too. So super.
Good. So thank you very much.
Did all that preparation, it's all done, right?
Anything else? I'm going to go to Nick and Isabel. Student representatives, so I'm just keeping on the same item on that as well to keep it going.
So, oh.
You have my support. Thank you.
Thank you.
So from the Student Advisory Council, we did meet today over Zoom. The Student Success Subcommittee, they are working on creating a presentation about kind of tips to achieve success in school. And they're going to actually present that to kind of freshman health classes, considering they are also looking into kind of home ec classes and financial literacy courses as well. They're going to present that to health classes of schools that we are going to when we meet as a full council in person. And then kind of everybody in the rest of the council will go to their own schools and kind of present to some sort of freshman health class, that kind of whole slideshow. So they are working on that. Anything about that?
I was with the class variation work group today. We were having a lot of technical difficulties, so we were only able to meet for a little bit with a few students. Right now, we're really working on how students can be supported in and out of the classroom, and Quabbin was a very good example with our advisory flex block. A lot of schools don't have things like that, so we were able to kind of use that as an example. Right now, we're just reaching out to principals and administrators, gathering information, and then they're planning to kind of adjust things and look at new perspectives. Again, there wasn't a lot we could do today, but we're going to meet again next week, that small group. And then there were a couple, we haven't had a meeting with the state council since the last time we met. But a lot of them, do you want to talk about the financial literacy bill?
There was a financial literacy bill at the State House that's been sponsored recently. A couple members within the Student Advisory Council organization did go and testify in front of a congressional committee about that, kind of advocating for it, explaining to them the benefits and how good it would be for us to have that be mandated. I know that we have, I would like to say, we do have I know there were a few kids that we had when they did a workshop to kind of prep them for to testify, and it went really well. And I do not know the result of that. But now getting on to kind of school matters, DECA for the past couple days did go on a little competition. I talked with Luke Salvador, one of the members of DECA, and he told me that they had 9 kids going on to states. I think the past few days it was like districts for them, and so they had 9 kids who won in their own district kind of thing. They had top 7 in each competition move on, and they had 2 that were top 3 winners, which is really impressive for that club. And then for those of you who have paper copies, this is also in the drive. Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. On behalf of the basketball program, we invite you guys to come and watch our games, any game that you guys can make to. I know some of you have already made it to some of the games. But here, I figured you guys could get a paper schedule, that way you all had it with you. You can see, I know some highlighted games that I highly recommend that you do. The February 13th Belchertown game, that will be the senior night, both boys and girls. Now it is finally one night this year. And then for the boys, on February 2nd, we are having the 1999 team come in for a kind of reunion to celebrate kind of their achievements back that team had. They did put up a banner. They were the state finalists that year. A lot of accomplishments. So that is that.
A few other school things with clubs and organizations. I know like middle school student councils in full swing, they just had a dance last week. High school student council, we're planning a dance for February, and that's going to be hopefully a fundraising trip for a few of our active members to go to a conference in March with the Massachusetts Association of Student Councils. And if we hit our fundraising goal, then there will be more details about that and us seeking approval next month. That would be in Hyannis for a few days. The International Club and National Honor Society are working with some local ESL students, as well as the International Club. We're working to develop a clothing drive and start a playgroup with some of the immigrant and refugee families in Gardner. And National Honor Society is working to, I think right now we're doing some like picture books and play groups with some of the students in the district. We also have this weekend, we have 2 students participating in Central Districts, which is a very competitive music concert program. We have 1 for band and 1 for choir. And both students are in Tri-M. 1 was inducted last week. And Tri-M, I'll have more details later when we vote to approve it, but we're organizing a prospective field trip to New York
We just did a field trip to see Beetlejuice at the Hanover last week, which is a big success. And finally, this weekend, we have 4 students representing Quabbin. We're going to go, well, I'm going tomorrow to help set up, but with Project 351, which is a youth-led nonprofit based in Boston. We're going to be at the JFK Library for our annual launch day. So we have 4 Quabbin students, Lillian McKinstry from Barry, Noah Tupence from Hubbardston, Josie Buck from Hardwick, and Kingston McKenzie from Oakham. Those are all 8th grade students who throughout the year will be working with almost 400 students from across the state, also all in 8th grade, split over 40 what we call service hero teams. I'm very fortunate to be able to lead one of those teams with about 10 8th graders from across the state, including a couple of our Quabbins. We're going to work on Saturday, kind of introducing them to the program. My goal would be to have them come in over the next month or so, or sometime, to kind of talk about their experiences with the program. It's basically to kind of provoke a love of service and to engage youth in advocacy. We're going to be working with a lot of programs around Greater Boston and then some more regional programs as the year progresses. But that's very exciting for them. So I hope that they can, if I'll talk to them and see if they want to come in, but I'm sure it would be something that they'd enjoy. But yeah, that'll be very exciting for them, I hope.
And the seniors for the National Honor Society did go on our Christmas buying gifts for kids within the district who kind of were in need of getting some gifts. The trip was an overall success. It was interesting because we were finally able to run around Target and not have to worry about how much money we had left to spend. But it was really great because we were kind of able to get a whole kind of array of gifts for kids. And one of the realizations I had was, wow, I don't know how parents can do this. I was running around and I was like, how am I, do I get them this, this, and this? Or do I swap this out for this? It was an experience. And then we went to Chili's after, had a great lunch, and then we got back and then we sorted out the gifts. And then a couple of the members, we went to the elementary schools, dropped them off, and then they were given out from the elementary schools. And yeah.
Just think if you had 3 the same age.
There was one where it was 5 kids from 9 months all the way to 10 years old.
Well, I'm talking about you guys and your mother.
Oh, yeah. I went home and I said, Mom, Dad, I don't know how you did it, but thank you.
Nick, did you guys utilize the vans to do that?
Yes. Oh, yes, we did. Yep. Yeah, we did. And the vans, yeah, it was a good ride actually. And it wasn't too bad of a ride either. I think it was the Target in Leominster. I think. Yeah. And that is it.
Brings us up. I'm just wanted to make a quick comment regarding financial literacy. As you, on the state level, taking a look at this, this is now it's finally being a little more highlighted. I know we had civics discussions the past few years. We've had, we talk about literacy, we talk about numeracy, but now the financial literacy makes sense. And I don't want to, sometimes I'm an idea man too, but see is there a way, if you guys are thinking this way and looking, is there a way, we get bound with 180 days legally and 900, 990 hours, there's got to be some flexibility in the state for some other things, for us to do things. But is there a way in the curriculum, in the day, that could be developed for financial literacy that happen? That's a discussion with the principal and the council to see, because that's how things happen. When people sit down, start looking and strategizing and putting things together. Do you take 2 lunches and make it an hour and 10 minutes? And of that, it's a working lunch, and it becomes a financial, I don't know. But is there creative ways, students on the state level, and as well as you two, to see what we can do or not do? Is that something that you think is going to be bubbling up?
Yes, and when both at the state council and at the regional levels, there have been talks. We've kind of been brainstorming, like, how can we fit this in our own school schedule?
Right.
Because for many other schools, they're not on the same kind of time frame that we are. They get out at different times. And I do know that, like, we do think kind of like, okay, can we make this, if it's going to be required, how can we kind of frame this? Most of the ideas are, okay, let's just make it a class kids have to take, just like how kids have to take a required health class freshman year. So we've been looking into things like that. We've also been looking, because it's not mandated yet, we've kind of been looking as to, because so many schools just don't have an option for financial literacy. And luckily Quabbin does. We have business classes, we have the accounting class, which does teach kids kind of those key skills that they need to know when they go out to the adult world. But definitely as we move forward, that will definitely become more of a conversation at the state level.
Yeah. And two other things that kids, I mean, as we get out in life too, we all need a library card and we all should have a passport out of life too. You know, think about what access to a library is. But thank you for your update and I'd like to hear more down the road on that.
Yeah, no problem.
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
And is Ryan in?
No.
No, okay. So then I'll go back to the we'll go back to the agenda. Superintendent of schools.
Okay, so I think I'm going to start, I'm going to report on progress on my goals tonight. I'm going to tie them into the strategic plan as well as the goals you'll evaluate me on for supervision and evaluation. But first, I'm just going to hit a couple quick things and I'm going to ask the directors to do their part of the report. So we have some informational nights coming up. We're going to do an informational safety night the third week in January. We'll do a school choice night. We always welcome in anyone who's interested in school choice in March. We'll be getting that ad in the paper in the next couple of weeks. And we'll also be doing a kindergarten informational night in May. I want to make you aware of a possible change to accountability. I don't know if this has come up in the student advisory councils, but the commissioner is making a proposed change to the way that they factor accountability for school districts. So the rating that we get at the end of the year after we take our MCAS and they look at all of our data around chronic absenteeism, graduation rate, so on and so forth. The commissioner is proposing, because there's such a focus on chronic absenteeism, to change the way that the accountability system is weighted. And so one of the changes that he is proposing is at the elementary level, currently achievement is weighted as 60% of the percentage points. He is actually recommending that that is decreased by 25%, and that 25% is factored into chronic absenteeism. For the high school level, only 40% of the accountability rating is factored on achievement, and he's recommending that that is decreased to 25%, and that 15% gets weighted onto chronic absenteeism and decreased from graduation and dropout rate. So it is open for public comment through tomorrow. I promise you, I sent a 10-paragraph message to the commissioner about my concerns. We'll see what happens. It is a proposal for 1 year as a 1-year fix. The commissioner's belief is that this could really help schools. And he also has a push on chronic absenteeism. So many schools have received $10,000 to do some work around chronic absenteeism. Some of the work that they're recommending is, or as a possible recommendation, is if you do an acceleration academy like we've done the past few years, if a child attends a day during acceleration academy, you can wipe one of their absences out. So you could trade a day for a day. So if a student has 10 absences and they come to a day of Acceleration Academy, now they have 9 absences. Or potentially we could offer Saturday sessions. So if students come to school on Saturday, they could make up those days of chronic absenteeism. I have a meeting with administrators next week to talk about how we're going to plan for chronic absenteeism. While we are certainly open to the ideas of acceleration academies because we've seen some success with that, we don't believe that just making those days up for students is going to result in changes to achievement and learning. And so we will present a different approach to the school committee for consideration. But I just wanted to make you aware of that because it potentially is a really big change. And of course, the philosophy behind it is we pay attention to what we measure. So they want us to reduce our chronic absenteeism, which we should. We should all be working on that. I don't want to underscore that. I'm just really concerned about the message that achievement becomes less important. So just sharing that with you. And so Carrie. Oh.
Dr. Noel. Sorry.
Yeah. I think my fellow school committee members agree with me that various kinds of numerical, by the numbers, A, B, C, fill in the check marks that may be foisted on us may have some merit. The kinds of things that Samantha just did, or the kinds of things that Nick does, or French Bowl, and, going out and achieving and thinking and pulling something together, representing at the state, that is in many ways far more important. The kinds of things that we, IB graduate. So filling in the check marks is fine. But on the other hand, I think we have a view and an approach of what education is and what we want for our kids as they're going forth into life, into the world, into where they're going to be, into a global kind of living situation. That's far more important than they make up a day with an acceleration academy for a day that they missed or something of that ilk. So I guess I feel compelled to say something about that versus some kind of a numerical something or other that some genius came up with down in Malden, which doesn't have much to do with OCAM.
That's why I'm glad that superintendent is not only commenting, but be able to see what is important to help us to dealing with absenteeism, to help and encourage kids to have opportunities to make things up. So it makes sense that we do have to deal with the check mark, but the creativity and the involvement speaks louder than the check mark.
And we believe, I hope, but we believe at Quabbin, right, that by offering those experiences, that then our achievement goes up, right? So that is why we do what we do.
But it may not be the achievement that the state is measuring, but it's achievement which is much more important in our
agreed
as someone is going out into the world.
I agree, but I also think it does actually show up there, right? So,
Hey.
yeah. So I think that it's tricky and concerning.
Are you doing it the tricky way?
It's tricky and it's concerning. Yeah. So
Good.
We'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated.
All right, so I'll try to be brief here tonight. We convened our curriculum council just actually this morning to decide what our next areas of review would be. What we decided on was science for grades K to 5. We think it's time for a refresh there. Potentially some social studies in the upper elementary grades where the teachers start to split out so that kind of, those teachers who aren't involved in the sciences to look at their curriculum. And we've selected social studies as next up on the docket for the middle high school. Our timeline for this school year would be to review our existing curriculum, take a look at what else might be out there, and then plan for a pilot starting the beginning of next year of some different possible options. I also wanted to give you an update on our IB review that we're going through this year. We did submit our preliminary documentation, and we did get some feedback on our content area curriculum documents, that they could use a little bit more support in the area of theory of knowledge. So I thought with Sam talking tonight too, we could talk give you a little bit about the IB core, the 3 pieces that the diploma students have to do if they're full diploma candidates that are above and beyond some of the other coursework that kids just take, an individual course. They do theory of knowledge. They do the creativity action and service that Sam talked about, a project, and they do an extended essay, which is a longer research paper on a topic of their choice. And I just put a little bit in here about theory of knowledge. It's an area that I think we need to do a little development in, but it's also one of the most exciting parts of IB for me. I've taught this course before. It's really thinking about how do we know what we know, what justifies knowledge, and how does that look different in different subject areas? Can emotion be a way to justify knowledge? Those sorts of things. And I think it's really, kids say that the more you kind of delve into this, the less certain you are about anything, which I think is kind of a good thing. So sometimes, especially our adolescents, a little black and white in their thinking, and some good kind of learning opportunity to realize that different perspectives can be valid and that sort of thing. So this is just here for you to kind of peek at if you want. I pulled it off the IB website, but a little more about that course. The idea, though, is that we weave that into our other IB courses, and that's something we have to do a little work on this year. So that's an area of focus for us.
Thank you.
So Director Kevin Clark is not available tonight, so included in the packet are we've had some emergency repairs that have come up, and I know we visited the buildings recently. But when these emergency repairs go over the $5,000 threshold, we have to put them back to the town. So we've had a couple of these in the past few weeks. One is a fire panel repair over at Hubbardston. The other one was a generator repair in Ocam. And I think one thing we just want to acknowledge is when we started the repairs, we certainly didn't think they were going to cost the amount of money that they did. And the same is true for the hot water tank over at Ocam. So you can see a brief description of those. The town of Ocam, because of the amount, will have to actually do a procurement for that project. So just keeping you informed of those ongoing issues as we have them. Any questions on those? Kevin will be here next month. He just had a personal matter tonight. Andrew?
I'm here. Just a quick update. We're about 3/4 of the way through the AP wireless migration. We did most of the hallways in about 3/4 of the classrooms over the break. We still have a couple classrooms left. We don't want to take them down during the day because then the 2 classrooms that run off of it will lose Wi-Fi access. The staff is adjusting their start times to an hour earlier. So we're hoping to have that completed by the end of next week. We're still down 1 tech. We're hoping that person will be back next week and will be fully staffed for the first time in a long time. But the technology staff did close 301 tickets since the last school committee meeting, and we're up to 1,675 for the school year.
Yeah.
Andrew, have you gotten feedback on the new website? How's that going?
People generally responded that they liked the update. They liked the changes to the mobility portion of the website. So your iPhone or your iPad or your Android device was much easier than the old site. We have had a lot of point out little errors that we've been correcting, but for the most part, it's been very positive.
Good. And on your end, good as well?
It's much easier to make updates now. We have more staff making updates. Before it was really just Jess, one of the techs over at the high school, and myself doing the updates. Now the office managers are updating their own calendars. We're putting new content up. So yeah, it's a much more interactive experience. And I think we're getting a lot more traffic.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if anyone was on it during the recent 2-hour delay, but you couldn't be on it and not see that we had a delay because it kept repeatedly popping up. And I thought, this is really great. Like, You know what I mean? So it was very obvious. Cheryl?
I'm working on several procurements this month. I think I have 6 or 7 that need to go out. Right now, we have 2 that are ready to be released on January 16th, next Tuesday, for our school bus bid and our heating oil bid. And then being released on the next day, we're doing an RFQ on behalf of the town of Barry for a project at Ruggles Lane School. The principal and cost center administrators have completed their FY25 budget input. We will be presenting the budget subcommittee with actually 2 versions. We'll have proposed version 1, and our proposed version 2 will include some alternative funding sources for some programs, some staffing, asset purchases, and repair projects. There will be, at that first or second, maybe even the third version of a budget, some major expenses that we will not know what the costs are. Those procurements lead you on to believe the heating oil, the transportation. We also have an electricity contract that'll be coming up next November, so I need to put that into play as well. And right now, we don't know what the charter tuition is. The school choice report was released today, so I was able to update the school choice assessment on the budget, but I will not have the charter school for a while, I guess. Also, I provide for you the grant award report that the committee wanted to see each month. There was one new grant that was not reported last month. It's called the Chronic Absences Report. It's in bold. It's number 989 for $10,000. Warrants released since the last school committee meeting have been payroll biweekly warrant 13 and 14, weekly payroll warrants 25 through 28, and accounts payable 48A, 49H, 50B, 51A, 52FR, and 53FQ. I believe that's it.
Any questions? Greg?
So I just have a few things, and really some of it just updates for things. We still have a career pathways fair, and job fair at the end of February. I wanted to let you know that Mass Hire has been really instrumental in helping us kind of get the word out to different corporations and different programs out there for kids to get apprenticeships. And so that I just want to kind of give them kudos for their support. Also, I just figured I'd let you know where some of the work in the post-grad program is happening in terms of their placements. There's 2 kids at New Braintree Public Library. 1 student is working at J&J Family Restaurant. We have 3 kids working with facilities here, 2 kids working in the copy center. We have 2 students working at Hampshire Lumber and 1 student working at Ruggles Lane. And we also have, you can see in the report, there's a variety of places where they do group work. So really our post-grad students are making an impact on the community, as well as the community being able to make an impact on them. And they're also going to have, the post-grad program will have a question and answer discussion session with parents on January 18th at 5 p.m. And the last thing that I have for you is that, again, in partnership with Mass Hire North Central Workforce Board, we will receive $4,000 in funding for working together with them. We'd like to use some of that money for credentialing some of the postgrads and things, as well as other programming throughout the school for career development.
Thank you. Any questions for Greg? And John?
So just tonight, I actually have been updating on a fairly regular basis relevant to our tier focus monitoring review. We did get a report back from the stages saying that we had resolved all issues that they had since TFM. So as far as TFM and corrective action planning goes, we'll not actually have to address anything further for probably close to another 2 years until the next audit. And the other 2 things that I have are really about open positions. We did hire a .5 team chair, and who is also going to be a .5 ELL teacher, and that person will be starting later in the month. We have also been posting for a position that's been vacant for a while now, a speech and language pathologist. We've not had any applications, so I've been reaching out to possible vendors to either look at in-person or virtual services.
And Mr. Myville is not with us tonight. My guess is there's probably games of some sort happening somewhere. But he provided an update and a few really nice photos on the back of the report for you. And we have some school committee members that got some shout outs for attending the games. So they always love to see folks at their games.
Okay.
Okay, so I will move into presenting you some artifacts and evidence, and I'm going to try really hard to tie together my personal goals, the strategic plan goals, and the idea of our supervision and evaluation system. So school committee members, you have a packet in your folder, and this is the teacher and me. We're going to use a little bit of a 3-column note catcher. So I've broken it into the 4 sections that I'm going to present to you. And then I just figured this is a place for you to kind of keep your thoughts. If you have any questions or anything you're thinking about that you want to ask me, you can jot it down to the right. And anything that stands out, you can kind of put in that middle column. So Jess is going to bring up a little bit of a slide deck, and then what I'm calling artifacts or evidence, I just sort of did a mini portfolio for you. And, if there's other things you want to see, I'm happy to provide that, but I didn't want to inundate you completely with too much information tonight. So my first goal is around communication. So I shared with you that only 46%, I shared this at the start of the year, only 46% of our stakeholders had a positive sense of satisfaction with the overall learning and academic achievement at Quabbin, and I have a goal of reaching 70%. This is also aligned with our strategic plan objective number 1, and that's to create a clear and consistent communication plan that makes expectations, learning, and student success visible. So those 2 things are directly related. And so some of the evidence is listed up there in bullet points. And hopefully you've seen this by now, but I included in your packet a sample of a Barry Gazette article. I do those bi-weekly. I think I'm on my 7th or 8th submission. District-wide newsletters, you'll see that after those are done monthly. And then some of the other things up there are, parent and community events, launching our website. I've attended some select board meetings to introduce myself. We have another round next week where we've invited folks to start talking about budget with us, and just some of the informational nights that I pointed out to you earlier. And the next slide really goes in this first section. So this is the supervision and evaluation piece. So the language there is that in my role, I promote the learning and growth of all students and the success of all staff through effective partnerships with community organizations, other stakeholders, so on and so forth. So I highlighted some of the things that tie really nicely into what Greg mentioned earlier, but all of our partnerships with Mass Hire and internships. Just this week, I actually had the absolute joy of visiting an early childhood center in Barrie and doing the same thing down in Hardwick. I got to meet homeschool parents who are bringing their kids up coming into preschool and kindergarten. I also am attending the 250 anniversary planning meetings for the town of Barrie. We have local police and fire chief monthly meetings focused on safety, and we're expecting a visit from Commissioner Riley on February 1st. He's going to come and he's going to visit our middle school, and I see Nick and Isabel's eyes open up, so I'm sure we can find some time for you to meet him. But he's really going to come to our district with a really focused lens on how we're utilizing our grant funding to support work that we're doing at the middle school level to raise our student achievement. So we've gotten co-teaching grants. We also used our ESSER funding to launch interventions and things like that. We had a presentation not that long ago. So that's what he'll be looking at. And my evidence, my artifact 3, is this is a picture of me after the 2-hour delay and sitting and reading to preschoolers and their families, and it was an absolute joy. So the second section, if you will, is again, this is my own goal. And this is a really, doing this process has actually been super helpful for me, but this goal is a really tight goal, but it aligns with others. But this is about having our educators learn more about becoming leaders, right? So this was the goal of engaging 5% of our educators into a cohort so that we can work on their instructional leadership knowledge, skills, and capacity to strengthen our pipeline. So we've had over 20 people show interest. I've included the posting as an artifact as to what we're looking for. And it will run very similar to sort of a course. There'll be book work and projects and different things like that. And it will include a summer session of learning as well. So that goal is very tightly aligned with Standard 1, which is the instructional leadership standard for superintendents. And so this is promoting the learning and growth by creating a shared vision that makes powerful teaching and learning the central focus of schooling. This is something that I think it is the crux of the job and the heart of the work. And in order to really make it live, I believe that we have to create a sense of trust and a strong culture. So the artifacts that I've put into your paper copy may be a little strange to you because one of them is a PowerPoint with just pictures. So taking that out of context probably isn't going to have a lot of meaning to you. But it was super fun and very well received by the staff. But you'll see in there a couple slides that clearly delineate the expectations for our staff this year. I think you'll see the theme, I hope, that Samantha presented around knowing our students and one another by name, strength, and story, and creating that belonging that she talked about, and setting personal goals for themselves. And every year as a district for our educators, we highlight focus areas. That is also included in there. And I included for you as artifacts some of the staff emails that I have sent back and forth to try and build that culture and reiterate throughout the year what that shared vision, what it really looks like, feels like and sounds like, so that our teachers know what they're striving for. I've also done the district-wide newsletters, some different articles. We're working in PLCs. We have PD exit slips. And I included a couple quotes from the beginning of the year from our educators that they had sent me. And this work, so section 3 is also aligned with our strategic plan, objective 3, to have structured collaborative time, planning time and professional learning that's relevant to individual positions and the needs of all educators. So there's a lot there.
Yes, and your understanding of the vision, the leadership, the structure, the success of building upon teachers of leadership skills and PLCs, and looking at that. Some of us in the room may not know what PLCs are.
Thank you. Yes, so that's a danger that we fall into, but they're a professional learning community. It's a small group of educators working on a common goal together.
And that again, I just 10 seconds. Thank you for strengthening the concept of PLCs. And teachers have always wanted more time to not only learn, listen amongst themselves, but also look at good evidence, good teaching, good pedagogy, and evidence that makes sense for success. So thank you on that one.
We're a work in progress. And my third goal is really very personal to the role and really increasing my understanding. So these are all the things that I've attended. They're probably not all up there, but I've really just been trying to seek out as much information and learning as possible. And, you know, both Cheryl and John share with me when different things come across their desk as well, and they're always open to me asking them a million questions, so I appreciate that. And one thing I just want to highlight from that is that we are a Mass Ready Network participant. So this is our third year working with the state. And it's work that they do that's really focused on diversity, equity, inclusion. And in thinking about, do our policies and practices contribute to the success of all of our students? So that's work that we're undergoing. John, Carrie, and Trisha Worthington attend those sessions with me. And so therefore, this goal is also aligned with our strategic objective number 2, the safe and supportive culture that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion. I included in there the job description for members of our equity team as an artifact that was on there with the QRSD future leaders. And also artifact 8 is from Dr. Holly's work. So we talk about what we do with him a lot, but it's hard to sort of make that visible to you. But I found this one top page to be really helpful after sort of scouring Carrie's office. She doesn't even know I was in there, looking through binders and whatnot. But it's the work that he really does with us is understanding that our students come to us with cultural behaviors and that we want to embrace those, right? So we talk about knowing folks' stories and where they come from and honoring that, but also that we do want to teach them the expected behaviors that we have in school. And so I feel like this one pager might do a decent job of explaining that to you guys. And then the last section, I believe, if I'm remembering this right. I'm sorry, this is tied to management and operations, which is part of the evaluation system. So, for me, I really think of it as setting the conditions in which all of our students and our staff need to thrive and using our resources appropriately. So some of the things that we have implemented this year is an after action review. So when we've had challenging situations arise, we use a process to think through what happened. And then we ask ourselves questions about were any biases at play? Did we make the best decisions in the interest of students? What impacted our decisions? Was it resources, staffing, so on? We also have a real focus on data-driven decision-making. And that's everything from thinking about our curriculum, our staffing, and our schedules, but also to thinking about budgets. So some of our principals have, identified maybe they want additional staffing, and we're asking questions, are we asking for the right staffing? What's the data we have to support need for this, versus something else? And so another thing that I do is I try to regularly seek feedback and input from the staff. So I recently sent out a staff feedback survey. You'll find that as Artifact 7. Sorry, I don't think I put that in red up there. But basically, I said we're halfway through the year. What kinds of things can we do better or differently? What ideas do you have? And I made no promises. I said, we just take this under advisement, but it helps us become better. So I shared just a synopsis of what folks shared with me. And then standard 4 is really about reflective practice, setting high expectations and continuous learning. So included in all of these documents, I hope that you see my messaging for the year. You should be able to pull that from some of my emails, some of the slide decks. You'll see some of the PD providers that we have chosen this year are aligned with the idea of self-reflection, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also that continuous learning. And something that I've really been working with our administrators on is not just feedback that lives in a document, but having meaningful conversations with our educators. That is something that they have stated that they have a real desire for, and that those conversations, I believe, allow for greater learning and then greater reflection and greater outcomes for our staff and our students. So you may be wondering, well, what's the evidence that we have that this is making a difference? So it's only midway through. What I realized is change takes time as I was doing this, but I pulled snippets for you. So you know we've been very focused on the academic achievement at middle school, and this is the first time in many years that we actually have data from grades 6, 7, and 8. And what I can tell you is at this point, in comparison to the beginning of the year, we have 59% of our students that are making their benchmark. Last year, we had 59% of the students at the end of the year making benchmark. So we're really optimistic and hopeful that that 59% is going to grow so that we have 80% at the end of the year. We're just in process of collecting our literacy data at the elementary level, but I asked our coaches and intervention specialists for some shout outs, and one of them came from 3rd grade, actually at Hardwick, that at the beginning of the year, that's what that BOY stands for. They had 40% of their students that were at risk. That meant they were not on track to be successful readers. And now at mid-year, that has dropped to 25%. What we would hope by the end of the year is that it would be more like 8 or 10%.
If they have problems, send them to the kindergarten class.
Yes. Our course failure rates, this is really interesting. The middle school has put into place something called Back on Track. I don't know if Nick and Isabel have heard about this, but they have a Back on Track room. And so basically in the mornings during Flex Block, they sort of say, you know, you guys are coming to the Back on Track room. Someone's going to work with you on your homework, anything you're struggling with. And we had students that were at risk at the midpoint of failing their classes, and 40% of those students have recovered and they're on track to pass their classes. So that's great. The Panorama SEL survey, we gave this in the fall of 2022. We gave it again in the fall of 2023, so that's the comparison. And this is the survey that we shared last year. It was a concerning survey because it indicated, at a greater amount for 6th through 12th graders than elementary, but still it was concerning that our students didn't feel like they had supportive relationships. And they also really struggled with thinking that they could, that idea of self-efficacy. So we're happy to report at the start of this year in comparison to the start of last year, we've seen a 3% increase in both those areas. We'll give it again. And so we hope to see greater growth as well. I did a superintendent survey. I shared that with you in November. Artifact 7 is that feedback from the survey. And I just sort of mention again the idea of conversations. And so because we're all about reflection, I thought I should include a reflection slide. So this was a really great process for me, to be honest with you, because it's like, how do I make visible to you all what I'm spending my time on? So a few things that I acknowledge is that change definitely takes time. So I'm happy with these little tidbits. I think Dr. Allen said an inch and a cinch or something like that.
Hard by the yard, cinch by the inch.
Yeah. So that's how I'm thinking of this. And then this was really helpful for me to think about. New learning is taking much more of my time than I thought it would, away from my attempt to be more present and visible with students and staff. So I really want to call that out. It's something I'm working on. But I think coming into this role, I certainly knew that I didn't know a lot, but it's a bit eye-opening about how much, there is to learn, to be honest with you. I don't know if there's a superintendent school that teaches it all. I'm going to guess no. But I just want to say I'm so thankful the support that I have from all of you and from our directors. And then the other thing is when I was looking at my feedback, I felt like I didn't have an awful lot of feedback from our kids and our families. So that's something that I'm going to prioritize in the next half of the year.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much, Dr. Allen.
I think the academic improvement that you're finding would be a great topic for a Barry Gazette article. Now, obviously it needs to be massaged a good deal. But academic improvement, particularly coalesced with this idea of bringing people in for school, coming from other towns to here. I think you could really do something with that because I think that's very effective and that's very important.
I agree. I plan to do something with that, so.
And now that
I think the
about it,
commissioner visit on top of it will
Yeah.
really make it, maybe it's a full pager.
there you go, there you go. But on top of, or sort of vis-a-vis this absentee and MCAS and those sorts of things, what percentage here, what percentage? This is the stuff that's really important.
It's the magic.
It is.
No, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Anyone else at this moment? Any questions for the superintendent regarding her mid-year kind of sharing with us, not only goals, evidence, and the reflection?
I would just like to say I've enjoyed watching you settle in a little bit and your leadership style. I think it's a good fit for our community and our staff. I think people are always nervous of change. I in particular like change. But I think you've really come in with a breath of fresh air and to sit back in just a short amount of time and watch the momentum and the atmosphere has been pretty remarkable. And what I really appreciate is your honesty with us and your transparency. And I think already in the short time that has been communicated to our communities. And I do appreciate, you rolling up your sleeves and taking on this challenge of this role. So I'm excited to see, what the future brings. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Just a quick comment. Aside from, truly appreciate the reflection, the open reflective piece, the feedback, but I also like the comment about, the past few years, and then you have people that run with it a different way. And then you have the criticisms rather than the highlights. Equity, inclusion, diversity, we focus it on educational equity. That's the world that we're in. We want opportunities for kids to succeed regardless of their neurodiversity, their learning style, their shape, their color, their hair color, speckled, bespeckled, unspeckled, able-bodied, you know where I'm going. It is about educational equity. Thank you for taking that. I know you have curriculum has been your strength, and now you're dealing with leadership positions and managing people, managing systems and process. And you are a systems thinker, you are a process thinker, but you also are results orientated. So you do have those parts that make up the whole, but you are willing not only to be reflective of what the learning curve is in the role of superintendent. So not only did you jump in July 1st for the interim and to be able to say, I can do this, but school committee, I'd like help, I want support, and please listen and learn with me. So those are the comments that I just wanted to echo. And I don't know I hope I made some sense, but I really wanted to hone in on the education. You can talk about results oriented, you can talk about numbers, and I hear what Dr. Allen says. But our world is student achievement and enhancement. But if we can frame it with educational equity and make sense, then we are advocating what we're supposed to do from a budget perspective, a program perspective, and a supportive in a shared governance model with accountability. So I just wanted to kind of give you my piece on that. And I may have a couple of questions down the road, but right now I just wanted to echo that at this time. Anybody else on a comment on the goal perspective and the update the superintendent gave us? Okay.
All I'm going to say is it's very uncomfortable because I don't work alone. So I just want to say, that none of this happens alone. And so administrators, directors, staff, teachers, students, everyone from our cafeteria staff, my vision is to be cohesive and moving in the same direction. So.
Good. Go back on the agenda. We're good?
Yep.
All right. Director of Administrative Services?
Nothing else?
Okay. Teacher Advisory Council?
We don't have anyone here tonight, unless Tony wants to say something.
I'm thinking about our trip.
Subcommittee reports? Nothing for administrative review, audited. I'm sorry?
How do you know that?
I apologize. I don't. I apologize. Administrative review.
Okay, so I'm going to segue into a question that Tony Brown is here to get an approval of something. We just go out of our normal and get her approval so she doesn't have to sit through the school committee meeting? Because if she tells me that she's sitting here just getting her jollies to sit at a school committee meeting, I will seriously question her sanity. But she really doesn't need to sit here through all our administrative.
Absolutely. Your request is, there's no objection? Absolutely. Let's go to new business. Request for approval of Tri-M trip to New York City in March 2024. Is that the one? Mm-hmm. All right. Superintendent, we'll go from there.
Appreciate it.
All right, so Tri-M is our music honor society here at Quabbin. We just inducted 8 or 9 new members. So we're looking to organize a day trip to New York City on March 20th, 2024, which is a Wednesday, and it's a half day, I believe. So it would be a one-day trip. We would leave at 5 a.m., get back at 11 p.m. Our trip would include going to a matinee of Wicked, doing a Broadway workshop, going to do some sightseeing and going to dinner. We'd be taking a bus down there. From our travel agent, it's estimated around 42 students. Hopefully, is our goal to go. Would be approximately $318 per student. If that $328 per student. If we reach that 42 student number, and to that we would need them all to be registered by around the end of next week, beginning of the week after, with an approximately $105 deposit to ensure their spot. It would be open to all high school students who are involved in the drama class, drama club, or band, chorus, orchestra, or jazz band. And we've successfully organized trips to New York. We did one last year. We had over 30 students go to our Beetlejuice trip, which some of it was kind of not impromptu, but it was more last minute, some parts of it. So those are the broad details, but it would all be organized by Tri-M. We have some fundraising for that, but our approval is to go out of state on March 20th.
Okay, Dr. Allen?
Move approval with the usual provisos.
Is there a second?
Yes, it's a second. I just think we have the provisos in there, but I think it's tradition. And it wouldn't be the same if Dick didn't do it that way, so great.
Particularly when I heard her mother do the provisos for the Washington trip. Had the whole gym full of people. She didn't even know I was standing in the doorway. She was going through, and by God, they are there and they are attended to.
Okay, we have, and would second it. Any further questions or any questions for yourself? Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson is not here. Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
There's nothing more from the administrative review.
Thanks for doing this.
Well, the Triumph Group is new over the last 2 years. This is our third year. And I've kind of put it into what do you want to do? How are you going to take leadership here? How are we going to build community in our program? And one of the things is take more trips, get kids out to see live performances. The Broadway workshop we're really excited about. We've never done it before. We're not sure what to expect, but I think it's a great experience for, no matter how you're in the music program. So we're excited about that.
It's terrific.
Yeah.
Audit? Budget?
Okay. First of all, most of you probably remember that last meeting, we just received our rural aid numbers, rural school aid numbers, which totaled $1,042,000. And the proviso on that was that they needed to be expended or encumbered by June 30th. We had a meeting past Monday, January 8th, and Cheryl and Colleen let us about potential uses of this funding. Now, one of the key points that, we all remember is that, we're using $880,000 for this year for ESSER 3 funding, which ends again September 30th. So, we had we had used the term potential cliff, number of different scenarios that we're going to have to deal with for next year. So this money, could come in handy to offset some of these concerns. Some of our examples of ESSER 3 funding, we funded a pre-K program at each elementary school. This is the ESSER 3 funding. Very successful. People very happy with it. I know my neighbors took advantage of that. And one of the other items on here, we had a middle school reading program. We maximized utilization of technology. I know we added some technological resources and some technology specialists. We addressed the emotional. Obviously, with the pandemic, we realized that there were many emotional and social aspects of the pandemic, and hired elementary social worker, behavior support interventionist to help us deal with these issues going forward. We also increased the summer program, which really worked well for both parents and students, both in 2023 and 2024. Some of the actions that we were asked to consider. Now, these were evaluated, obviously we found out in, late November, in December, the administration started to take a look at the programming that was funded by ESSER 3 and whether this should continue on into the next year. I don't think any decisions have been finalized as of yet, but, some of those are key programs that we really wouldn't want to see disappear in the next year. So the administration recommends substituting 400, I think I mentioned it. I don't know if I mentioned, I'll reiterate that there's $880,000 for this year that's salaries that are funded by ESSER 3. The administration recommended substituting $400,000 in rural school aid for ESSER 3 salary funding that was really accomplished through that and school choice. Am I hitting on that correctly? Good. So if we substitute this rural school aid for school choice dollars, then we'll be able to utilize those in the next year and hopefully abate any talk of cliffs going forward. So that looks like something that, we asked some questions the bottom line is we didn't really make any final decisions. We're going to bring this to the full board. The other utilization of the additional resources was really to choose. You remember every year we go through this in capital projects. We got them in the beginning, and by the end, there are no capital projects left in the budget because we had to utilize the resources for something else. Well, utilizing the rest of the rural school aid money for capital projects or assets that could impact student learning or school department efficiency, and can be purchased or encumbered again by June 30th. And again, we didn't make any final decisions. There are a number of different, I think this is in the dry, there are a number of different projects in all of the areas. The middle school, high school, cafe table replacements, dance floor replacements, gym floor refinish, roof seams, a number of different things that we really can't keep putting this off down the road. If we have an opportunity to utilize these resources, I think it would probably be to our advantage. I'm going to open this up to questions. Cheryl, do you have? I'm sure I missed something. Do you want to comment on any?
I do want to comment because in your packet, I think you have the presentation on slide 9 is a chart that has some of the assets and capital projects we'd like to do. And there are some mistakes on that. We thought so at the meeting. Some information looked extremely high. I checked with Mr. Clark, and there has been some adjustment to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to correct this chart before this presentation gets posted online. But that dance floor, I think there was an extra 0 of his number. Yeah. So I just, because we were talking on the phone and he had some questions for me of what he was doing, and I had some questions. Okay, let me talk about last night's meeting and what happened. I said, wait a minute, did you change the numbers? Because then I brought up the budget and account. I'm like, those numbers are different. He goes, yeah, there's some mistakes in there. I don't know what happened. So I do need to change some of those numbers on there, but the list itself remains the same.
You're talking page 5?
I have it as slide 9. Slide 9.
Slide 9.
Oh, slide 9.
Yeah.
Okay, slide 9. Page 5. Okay, current equipment and future? Flooring needs?
Yes, current equipment.
Okay. It was slide. I was looking at the page number 5. Okay, thank you.
Well, that dance floor refinish makes a lot more sense
Yes,
now.
it does.
Dr. Allen? Dr. Allen?
Yeah, this rural school aid, do we expect this as a one-year deal, or do we think it will continue on and help us overcome this problem of the cliff?
I don't think, do we know at this particular?
We don't know. Rural school aid, Dr. Allen, is subject to appropriation every year by the legislature, so we do not know. There is a slide in there as well that shows what our history has been. In FY19, we got less than $120,000. FY20, they extended because of the pandemic, they extended the use of FY20's money into FY21. We had $242,000. In FY21, $212,000. FY22, $261,000. Last year, $379. You'll remember that Dr. Muir said, you're going to get $1 million, you're going to get $1 million. And I said, not until we see it. Well, we saw it, it's $1 million. But there was a lot of work at the legislative level to get that rural school aid up there, because there's another presentation that the superintendent and I looked at. All of those, you see this every year, I put this together for you. Where did all the Chapter 70 money went? Right. Well, it goes to Lynn, and it goes to Haverhill, and it goes to Brockton. And they also got ESSER money. So they got the Chapter 70, and they got the SOA from ESSER, and they don't know how to spend it all. There's districts that have millions of dollars left because they got 2 big pots of money, and we didn't get anything, $25 a kid. So we can't be guaranteed that we're going to get this level going forward. That's why when the superintendent and I put this together, we said, we really don't want to start putting salaries into rural school aid. I talked to Julie Kelly. I say her name a lot. She's the legislative liaison for Mars. She has a direct line to them. I said, what are we going to use this money on? She said, you don't know, because you don't know what to do with, how much you're going to get and when you get it. You can't put salaries into rural school aid and not know to November if you get it and how much it is, because you can't charge those salaries for August 28th to October 31st. So it's hard to put recurring expenses there. That's why we put that list of assets and projects together.
But I think on the plus side, Dr. I look at it, we were flush, the state was flush a few months ago with money. And now the governor came out with some 9C cuts totaling almost $1 billion. The fact of the matter is, I went online today and downloaded the 9C cuts, and rural aid wasn't mentioned. So, maybe we're positive spin for a while here. I'm hoping that that's the case.
Good.
Question and maybe a point of discussion. So the question, use the word encumber. Got a term of art, what does that mean? Encumber.
You have to have a purchase order out the door.
All right, so the purchase order's out the door, but it could go down the road.
Yes.
Okay, that answers that. So number two, when I looked over all this stuff, and I know there's been some discussion, so we have discussed over the past year and a half, the situation regarding the bleachers, the football field. That's a big ticket item for us, and we've collected some money for it. And there's been discussion that the money's sitting there and people might be wondering, okay, is it just going to sit there forever or what? We got a big chunk of money here. We have a big chunk of money here. And I'm wondering if a big chunk of that money should go and put the bleachers to rest and let's get it done.
We did talk about that a lot. The superintendent and I talked about that. We don't feel that we can get that project done in time. You can't encumber it and the product not come in for 6 months. It's got to be able to come in timely.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, it can't be there. You can't be there for the whole next year. No, but we have to go out and I tell you, I have not yet done this. You've seen the number of procurements that have been on my plate. And when you put like 25 hours into a procurement to make sure it's good going out the door and you don't end up in court, it takes a while to do those. It took me a long time to get the bus bid together. I need to do find the engineer that's going to come in and do what the committee wants them to do, to come up with different plans of what we need. Do we just need a press box over here? Do we want a press box with extra seating? Do we want all new seating? That's what you told me to do. I have yet to do that. But we don't think that we can get that project done. If we were to get the money again in next year, that could be to the top of the list, but I don't think that we can get that project done by June 30th.
Can we get the engineer?
We could get the engineer.
With this
We
thing?
could get the engineer, yes.
Okay. I mean, that should be something.
So it shows progress towards it. So, I mean, what I really appreciate about this plan is that it feels like, while we may not get the same amount of money each year, it feels like it sets us up for future success, that we could have a consistent plan, that we're spending money, it's going back into teaching and learning, it's helping our towns with different projects, but it's also fulfilling the needs and the requirements of the rural school grant, right? We're looking at creating efficiencies with the use of the vans and things like that. So I think some of the coaching that I've had from my Mars coaches is, please do not just spend it on one thing. Don't just use it for capital projects. They really want to see that we're using it to address the rural nature and challenges that we face. And sometimes that's going back to the towns and having them pay for these projects. And sometimes it's creating efficiencies by having our own vans and saving us money down the road. So I think that communication, when the town's here, we've gotten $1 million, they're going to want to know what we're doing with it. And I want to make sure we have a approach that consistently helps us be successful each year after, no matter what the amount is.
So in line with that, in line with Mark said, saying that, okay, there was no definitive decision made, how quickly do we need to make a definitive decision, or at least that you want the school committee to weigh in on that, especially if, when we go to town meetings, as you just said, we want to have answers before people ask the questions.
I think we have some top priority needs that we've already identified. I don't know, you look like you want to say something, Cheryl.
I do. Earlier in my report, I said we're going to come to the budget subcommittee with two proposals right off the bat.
Right.
What we need for teaching and learning next year, that kind of like a level services, but it's really not level services when you find out that you don't have enough staff to get the job done. Mr. Salavaros has said we moved away from New England Center for Children being in our district by bringing our programs in-house. But to do that, we had to bring in the contract services that we were paying NEC to provide. John, jump in anytime. So we had OTs and we had PTs and we had speech therapists and everything else going to New England Center for Children. So we put in our budget for this year, 1 million to cover that. And we have 1 million to cover the cost of the contract services. So we had OTs and we had PTs and we had speech therapists and everything else going to New England Center for Children. So we put in our budget for this year
occupational therapists, and physical therapists. Finally got them on board, and they go, oh my God, we can't do this job. We need more help. So we have levels, so we have the need, but we may need to add positions to really focus on what we do really need for the students. So it's not going to be like, we only have the same number of staff, but it's the services that are needed. Then we're going to bring a second version of the budget that takes those expenses and charges them off to different funding sources, as I said, and that's what I was really talking about at that time. That we're going to look at making that school choice change over there to free up some money for next year in reserve to cover some of that. Some of those programs are going to go to school choice, so the salaries will come out of that first proposed budget and out of that for the second proposed budget. And then these programs that we have, these assets and these repair projects and whatever, that I'm going to build in to prepare to budget number one, they're going to come out of budget two and go over to rural school aid. So you're going to be able to see that in that budget proposal that we bring.
So when we're talking about relevant to like physical therapy and services, we're not talking about just conversations with people where they're saying, you know, the caseloads are big and things are real tight. This is data collection since the beginning of the school to see what the barriers are for our staff to actually attend meetings, do evaluations, and provide direct services.
We had to jump it.
Then does Mark have you have a timeline there? I guess I'm looking at the timeline.
The timeline is, we talked about some dates for a budget meeting. I don't think we were ready to make a motion tonight.
For a budget meeting?
No.
Oh, no.
That's not.
No, I'm gonna bring it to you in the budget presentation.
Okay, so you were gonna look at some dates. You have some dates?
You said you preferred Monday and Thursday. I can be ready for Monday, the 22nd. Next Monday is a holiday. However, if we wait till the Thursday that week of the 25th, the revenue numbers are supposed to come out on the 24th. So if you want to look at the first round of the revenue stream, it would be better to have it on that Thursday because the numbers are supposed to come out on the 24th.
But, you know.
But it's up to you, whichever night.
We might be having the training, we might, but go ahead. So, go ahead, keep going.
No, I guess my only concern is.
I may push it out.
Yeah, my only concern is I'm
Hey, push it out.
gonna give you the numbers.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and then you don't get the numbers, and I mean, we could. Jackie, I mean, you're kind of like the
Whichever night
budget
you-
guru here. I
whichever night you
mean,
want.
which is easier for you to deal with? I mean, is it better to have both sets of numbers, or is it okay to do the revenue?
So the last few years, we haven't had the revenue numbers, and we've just looked at budget to start. If you prefer to do that, I can do it on Monday, the 22nd. Just can't be here, somebody will have to take notes.
Monday, the 22nd?
Or do you want to do the 29th? Would that be enough time for would that be a better? Doesn't matter.
I guess my only concern is making the decision and getting rolling on some of these projects.
Right.
I mean, that's.
Right.
That's the big
The
concern.
22nd is fine with me.
Did you say you're gonna be here?
She's
I
not-
can't
Jess
be
is
here.
not-
I can't be here to answer anything.
Right, so
It's a Monday night.
22nd?
22nd,
22nd,
6
Okay.
PM?
6 p.m. You made it earlier, could you?
I have office hours on Monday
Okay,
nights, and with the holiday,
Okay, so 6 o'clock on the 22nd.
I could come for an hour.
We'll take it.
I can take it.
But on the 22nd, we probably want to have a couple other dates lined up so we can actually provide towns with when we're going to meet subsequent to the first meeting.
I think Mondays will be hard for the towns because they have select.
Yeah, okay, but it's, you know, and you probably, for Fridays, I guess nobody would come, you know, you just, whatever.
I'm not coming.
I'm not coming on Friday nights, but,
I actually prefer Friday night to Thursday night, because Thursday night is date night.
so we're set for the 22nd at 6 o'clock. The other issue I have is, we only have 4 members.
Wait, can we go back? Can we put the second one on February 1st, which is a Thursday? That way it'll be off of the town meeting night.
Yeah, February 1st,
And
okay,
then we'll do the second one on
6 o'clock. Okay, so we got 2 meetings that we can
I'll post
post.
Okay.
The next issue I have, can I move on?
You can move on now.
Now, we only have 4 members on this committee, all right? And, a couple options for either we have, full committee budget meetings, or we add a couple members to this particular committee. And I really don't have a preference either way. I mean, if we could add a couple members, that'd be fine with me. My only question was, if it's a full budget meeting and you're looking for a quorum and only 6 people show up, is it okay?
If you have the whole, so we used to do that with policy when we had too many subcommittee
Right.
members. So we would post it as a QRSD school committee meeting for the purpose of policy review and reform. So you would still need your normal quorum for a school committee meeting.
That's my own concern.
So we would post it as a school committee meeting for the purpose of budget, I guess.
If it was a full school committee meeting, Mr. Wiggler wouldn't have to sit through all of my PowerPoint presentations. We just do it once.
Are you trying to influence me?
You don't like sitting through my PowerPoint presentations over and over and over. I have to admit, I looked at the year before in the drive when I was getting ready for the meeting. I'm like, oh, 64 slides tonight. I was glad it was the year before.
No, I hear you, Mark. Like you mentioned, if you have 4 members that have signed up, and if anybody else would like to sign up and be a member, I don't have a problem. We can certainly make an adjustment on that. And then if that doesn't happen as well, and we should invite anybody and everybody to come. And then if it doesn't move the way you like, then we can go to the committee of the whole and have a whole committee. We could do it that way. If you want more involvement through this process.
Well, yeah, that's the reason, obviously.
And over the years.
These meetings are exciting.
No, they are.
I mean,
There's lots of slides.
Mark, I was there. I was chair of budget over the years too. And there were years where we did do committee of the whole, because we did have 7 and 8 people. Or when I, learned from Ed Leonard is he would say, because let's get all of us there, let's have a committee of the whole. So you do have that option. So let's see if we have any additional people that sign up. Any of us can show up as well. And then third, if we have to go down the road as a committee of the whole, we can do that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so anybody who's interested, who should they contact?
Jess.
Okay, just contact Jess, and it's actually, like I said, it's a learning experience. I mean, it was a learning experience for me. I was on the committee before. Learning experience, you find out, how the monies are out, even though you do a very efficient PowerPoint. But the bottom line is a lot of discussion happens at the budget level.
At minimum, you can read them from back here. Okay, so give me
Yes.
those there.
Good.
So Mr. Wiggler, maybe I'll only post right away for the January 22nd meeting, and I'll hold off and posting on the February 1st in case we have to do it as a committee.
As a whole.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
And maybe like next week, we can send a reminder out to the committee members and we'll keep the additions.
Especially some of the people that have been absent today. So we could do that as well. See if they have any appetite.
All right.
Appetite? So we're gonna have cookies?
I need
Get a picture here.
Right. That's what we have to do.
Get your coffee too. Good.
Still have some Christmas cookies, so.
Who doesn't?
All right, thanks, Mark. Anything else?
No, that's it right now.
Central office? Collective bargaining.
Nothing at this time.
Buildings, grounds, and safety.
Yes, I can give a report. I'll try to make it brief. We visited Hardwick, New Braintree, and Oak. In Hardwick, they need, basically all the windows have to be replaced in that school. MSBA funding will have to be required for that, so it's gonna be really expensive. And the parking lot needs a lot of work. That's kind of a common theme around here, parking lots. New Braintree, they're putting in a new boiler, the town's paying for that. that, so that's not a concern for us. But we did see it, we jumped out that building. ATM's got a lot of problems. It's got the wall on the outside of the, it's an insulating, not a load bearing wall. And got mold on it, it's got moisture is getting in there, infiltrating the insulation. So it has to be replaced, or I don't know if it has to be replaced. We have to get somebody to look at it, determine what. The town will have to pay for that. We just found out the water heater is going bad, and I think Cheryl had that on her list of capital projects that that's something we'll replace. Town again will have to pay for that. And lastly, the parking lot. Pavement around was like a little traffic circle in front of the school. That's really gone bad, and the parking lot in the back, and the parking lot, the playground pavement is in bad shape. There's a groove that was cut. It's about a 3-inch wide groove. It must be 100 feet long. It's cut right through the edge of the parking lot or the playground, and they never filled it, so it's got like a gap. So that's a bad tripping hazard. So they have to fix that. So again, it's a town project, but and I'm not sure what will be going on the warrant, but for the towns, what we're going to ask them to pay for, but this year, but that's up to the administration. So that's all. We were there because it was a joint meeting with the ad hoc subcommittee with Peace Committee. We started at 10 a.m. I think we were done at 1:30, like about 1:30. Yeah. So it was kind of a long day.
We were hungry.
So as we walked through some old camps, I guess it started me thinking. So looking at the playground there, which is right next to the school, so it's on school property. And there's signage that allows people to go in, but there are some issues with the property itself, where the parking lot and then just the entranceway, et cetera. And so we kind of had the discussion of, okay, if somebody comes in after school, because the kids use it during school, if somebody comes in after school, somebody from the community and gets hurt, you know, where's the responsibility there? I mean, if we, the school district have gone to the town and said, gee, we'd like to have this fixed, or, you know, this is really a hazard here, et cetera, the town really doesn't respond, you know, do we have the ability to kind of, you know, on one hand, do we have the ability to sort of close the playground after 3 o'clock or 3:30 if that's the case? But then the issue is if we want to do that, what's the signal that if our kids are using the playground during school day? You know, can you, you know, it doesn't make sense to say, oh yeah, we can use it, even though it might be dangerous, but we're not going to let people from the town use it. So it's kind of the conundrum is if it's a joint situation and issues are recognized that could be possibly dangerous issues, you know, how do you get the other party to move towards your recognition that this needs to be fixed? I mean, there was no answer there. That was kind of part of our conversation as we were viewing some of this. I mean, every school, I think, has their own playgrounds, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And some are in much better shape. I think Ruggles is they just did a whole bunch of stuff there, especially in the basketball court area, et cetera. So, and just to be on our radar screen as to maybe when we do the lease, which is up next year for the schools themselves, I looked through it, I didn't see anything really that addressed playground issues or issues of that nature. Maybe that's something we have to kind of look at. So.
Anything else for the reconfig? Anything other observations with the grounds and safety when you were there?
From my subcommittee's point of view?
Yeah.
No, most of it was capital projects. An observation I made, and I think others would agree with me, you know, for the elementary, so we went through all 5 elementary school buildings. I have to say, in every building, there's just a great comfort level as you walk through those buildings. Not only the buildings taken care of, because they really are, but just it's so neat to see the dynamics of just kids moving through the building. I mean, most of them are in the classroom, but there's always a kid or maybe a line of kids coming out. They're always willing to engage. And to me, which has always been important, they make eye contact. You're speaking with these kids. I mean, I'm talking 5 and 6-year-old kids, and there's just like great eye contact in the conversations, and they're willing to have conversations with you. And one example going through OCAM was there was a young girl, probably first grader. She was going one way, maybe to the girls' room. So there was a brief, hi, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the principal's there and the superintendent. So they conversed with the kids. And then we had done something, and we're working our way down, and she's coming back down the corridor. And she's like pirouetting around as she goes through it. She's working her way down. And so somebody asked her, they said, oh, are you being a ballerina? And she kind of looked at us and sort of had a smile on her face and just, I don't remember if she said yes or not, but just continued going down. But when I looked at, when she looked at us, I thought, this young girl is thinking one of two things: either adults ask really dumb questions, or of course I'm being a ballerina. What else would I be doing like this? So, but it was just nice to see that. And then the other part was we went to the pre-kindergarten. It's pre-kindergarten, right? That group there. So we went to the pre-kindergarten. They're all like, these kids are getting smaller all the time. And so we looked in, and they were just getting ready to go outside, and there was really little boy. And he, there was something about gloves or mittens, and we said something. Well, he just started talking to us, and I think Peggy was in there with me. And he's just going on about gloves and then how they attach the coat and the coats and all that. And the teacher's saying, okay, the other kids are like all dressed, let's go outside. And Peggy and I are like stepping back to leave, and he's like coming right with us. And then he starts going into something. This kid never stopped talking, but he had a thread. I mean, he was going in that thread of conversation. And I thought, I said to myself, if Mark Brophy were here right now, he would not be able to ask this kid the question, what can the school committee do for you? Because the kid wouldn't let you get a word in edgewise. So it's really great to see, and every elementary was like that. You see the kids walking around, they're very comfortable, with what they do. The teachers are great, everybody's willing to speak with you. I mean, it's really nice to experience that.
Great. And thank you, like you said, Walter, regarding the priorities of capital projects, things like that, will be
You were quoted liberally in the Barry Gazette today. I was poor. I don't get it till tomorrow. I know Cam.
You're on a day later, yeah, a day later.
We get ours on Fridays too.
Good. Policy review and reform.
These are a passel of policies that are on the table. And all we need to do tonight is take them off the table and vote them in. Now, parliamentarian.
Superintendent.
What do I have to say? I could say policy JICK. Do I need to read it? And can I do them all as a group?
You should read each of them, really.
I'll read each of them, and then we'll do them all as a group.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Policy JICK, harassment of students. Policy AC, non-discrimination and harassment, updated. Policy IMG, animals in school. Policy IMGA, service animals in school. Policy IHBD, compensatory education. Policy IHBF, homebound instruction. Policy IHBH, alternative school programs. Policy IJOA, field trips. I make a motion that we take these from the table and adopt them.
Second.
And a second, okay. Any further questions? Comments? Roll call, please.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Wolanin?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Allen. Student services? Peg?
She's not
Not
here.
here. Technology?
I have nothing except for the fact that I am a committee of one.
Ms. Tripp has volunteered to be on your committee.
All right.
Okay.
I am a committee of two.
Good. And I know you were going to meet, and I should have opened up the meeting, complete to tell the full committee, Joanne Cormier resigned. Very, very reluctantly, not because she had a wonderful opportunity happen. She's working in the Quabbin Regional School District.
Will be.
Will be working in the Quabbin Regional School District. And you couldn't be a school committee member in that at the same time. And she has an opportunity to work with you with her special education background, team chair, and with English language and with language learners and all that good stuff. So she had an opportunity and she said, oh my God, I really loved working with all of you, but, and both the superintendent and I said, go for it. Welcome. So you have another member and maybe next month. Thank you. Ad hoc, we did. Unfinished business, none. Any public comment?
No, no public here.
Any school committee concerns? Dr. Allen?
Yeah, it's more of a comment and a thank you. I've gotten to be friends with a person that works for a town in Vermont. And doing being recording secretary and doing the minutes is something that I see occurring now, and it takes about 3 hours or more of transcription and then redoing and making sense of them per hour of meeting. And I guess I knew Jess always did a good job and they were always there, but I didn't know quite how much was involved in that. So I guess as a single school committee member, I'd like to pass on a thank you. They were always there, they were always well done, and I now have a little bit better feeling for the process or what it takes to do that. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Well said.
So just to the superintendent, so I'm presuming on the website, this will be set up differently, or it comes out a little differently, because I see 5 school committee members there.
Look on the next page.
I know it's on the next page, but who looks on the next page?
Well, I did, because I missed it.
Only 4, oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it just copied out that way.
Just copied that way.
Yeah.
That's what she-
We gave you your own page.
Yeah, thank you very much. Except the
Welcome.
picture wasn't with me.
You're welcome.
But you were in the front.
Well, that's true. That's true. I was the one sitting down.
Yeah.
Front man. Any other school committee concerns? Just a quick follow-up. Thank you for the survey, for the participation on that in regards to doing some training that we're going to be going through. The superintendent and I are following up with Alicia tomorrow afternoon, and we're trying to hope to have a 2-hour training on the 25th, Thursday night, the 25th. That's what we're, looked like the survey for us, for school.
Next Thursday or Thursday after?
Thursday after. We'll kind of solidify that, but thank you for the input and, what information we get, the roles, there was some good feedback in regards to, again, training that makes sense for us to be an effective school committee. Are we effective enough? Do we share enough? Are we planning right? Is our agendas appropriate? Things like that. Again, good professional learning, and thank you for participating and being part of that. Before I go to the school calendar, let's go to the other couple of items, and we'll see if where we're at in them. Acceptance of a donation of wrestling mats from Pioneer Valley Charter.
So move.
Okay, possibly, but is there an update?
Yes, we're going to skip over that. They actually went to take a look at the maps and then they don't want to accept them.
So we withdraw that item. So we're going to withdraw that item. We did the approval, and then an approval of donation from Barry Savings Charitable Foundation to Is it the Hubbardston?
Hardwick.
Hardwick Elementary for Nature's Classroom?
So moved.
We're actually going to make a change to this. So this just happened today. There was also a gentleman, a father in Hardwick Elementary School that did a fundraiser, and Shelley, jump in anytime because you're here, doing a fundraiser. And at the same time that he was doing his calendar fundraiser, the teachers were trying to work with the Barry Savings Bank Trust to get a grant for Nature's Classroom. It's very difficult. Excuse me?
PTO was working.
Oh, PTO, I'm sorry. It's very hard for the students in Hardwick to all go to Nature's Classroom. And they were very lucky in getting $5,000 grant from the Barry Savings Trust, which will pay for the whole fifth grade to go to Nature's Classroom. So I got a call from Dodie Air today and said, what do I do now? This gentleman just came in with a $1,200 check for Nature's Classroom. We don't need it. I said, well, you need to meet with him. And Shelley, I believe you met with him today.
We did, we met with him today. One of the other things that the fifth grade class also does is they take, and they do across the district, they go to the Braveheart scheme in June. And so the cost of the Bravehearts ballpark tickets with lunch for the fifth grade class would be about $280. The bus is around $525. And we also order class t-shirts for them to wear at Nature's Classroom and at the Bravehearts game. And that's about $390, which totals up to about $1,195. So we met with the parent today and asked him if he would be willing to donate that money towards that. So there will be no cost to our fifth grade students to go and attend that, and all of that will be paid for. And any of the money that is left over from that, if there's anything left over, agreed to put that towards donation to next year's Nature's Classroom Fund.
Two things on
Full
that.
acceptance of both.
Okay, so two things on that, just, Dr. Allen, just a quick clarification. If money gets donated to PTO, we don't have to
No,
approve,
and that's why
correct?
we're taking that off, but we wanted to talk about this since this happened today. No, the school committee does not accept grants
That's what I.
to the PTO.
Okay.
The PTO does not have to have, is going to grant it to Hardwick Elementary School, but the school committee does not need to do
And that,
What we
This one-
would like to do is to acknowledge the gift from Mr. Pariseau of the $1,200 to Hardwick Elementary School.
so we can,
That's what I meant by my motion.
okay, we'll drop the way it's written of approval of donation for the Barry Savings, that one. But will approval of a donation, a gift donation from Mr. Pariseau to Hardwick Elementary School. Dr. Allen moved the motion. Is there a second? Second. Crystal seconded.
You popped right in there.
Crystal seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler? Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
Up to the approval of the 24-25 school year calendar. Bennett.
So in your packet are two calendars. So part of our agreement with the QRTA is that we work together and they have input into our calendar, and that we have to come to an agreement about our calendar. So we started by sharing a calendar with them that did not have 2 full weeks off during the holiday break next year. However, they did request a calendar with 2 weeks off for the holiday break, as they have had this in the past. It looks like it has a, almost like a cover page.
It's in the drive. It's in the drive. Yep. It says proposed 2024-25 school calendar drafts. It's okay.
There you go.
Oh, I see.
And I pulled it up on the screen.
So they put the calendars out to their membership. The membership voted on the calendar that they were most in favor of. And overwhelmingly, the calendars draft 4 and 5 where there were 2 full weeks off during the holiday season were what the membership voted in favor of. I think they had about 150 members vote and 70% were in favor of one or the other. But draft 5 was the leader by a hefty margin. So we would like to put forth the 2024-2025 school calendar draft 5 for the school committee for your consideration, for approval for the calendar for next school year.
So what's the difference between the two?
So the difference between 4 and 5 is at the start of the school year. So on draft 4, we start the exact same days, the 26th and 27th, the teachers come. On draft 4, the students come to school with the teachers, obviously, the 28th, 29th, and 30th before the Labor Day holiday. On draft 5, and this is the start of the school year we had this past year, teachers start on the 26th and 27th, students come the 28th and 29th. The 30th is a no school day. And then everyone returns on Tuesday, the 3rd.
Which is similar to what this year was.
Yes, that's how we started the year this year.
Wait, then.
Okay, I understand. So on draft 4, why is the 28th in red? Why, I mean, I'm just curious.
That's the day the kids start.
Oh, on that, okay.
It is on both calendars.
I think I didn't make it red on number 5 by mistake.
That's all.
Okay. So the 30th is the difference then.
Is there a motion for?
Sure, a motion, we accept the draft 5.
5, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Dave, second it. Any further discussion?
The one thing I will bring to your attention, and Isabel, you may want to cover your ears for this one, but our anticipated end of school date is the 17th. And so there is some language about holding graduation, that it is up to 12 days before the regular scheduled closing date, which brings us right to the 30th of May. However, we have, in looking at the past 7 years of no school days, we haven't had a year where we've had less than 3 no school days. So it is possible that graduation may need to happen on the 6th of June instead of the 30th.
How do you feel?
I mean, if I'm being so honest, I haven't conceptualized that that's a.
Right on. No worries.
More time you get to spend with us.
That's right.
There you go. All right, no other questions, roll call.
Dr. Allen?
No.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willanen?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
No.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Okay,
Thank you. I have one other thing under new business.
yes.
I feel like I should wait for Dr. Allen to get back, but, so this should be a celebration. It doesn't feel like one, but, Cheryl has given us her notice to retire at the end of this, summer, really, on her birthday. So, we are super excited for her to take on that wonderful adventure, but we know how much of a loss it's going to be for this district. So I really asked Cheryl if I could share the news early so that we could have a good, solid plan about finding a replacement for Cheryl, taking the time to get a person on board who has the knowledge and skills that we really need for this district. Deb says there's no one. I see her shaking her head. You know, I've done everything like offer Cheryl to, work up in Maine with us.
Say something to Deb? Deb and I both work for Al Tutela. He told me very early on, no one is irreplaceable.
I don't think that was the exact words.
You kicked me out, so.
So Cheryl, I pulled my nomination papers.
Hey, I warned you last month. I said, pack your bag.
No, we're waiting for Dr. Allen to come back.
You tell them.
Well, first off, Cheryl, first off, just congratulations. I know you're giving us knowledge, telling us that you're, Dr. Allen, there was a little bit of news we're waiting to tell you.
Just what you said.
Because I think probably the most senior people here that spent most time, I mean, probably Lee, maybe, I don't know, but,
Cheryl plans to retire in June.
You rascal.
August, sorry, August.
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 So we would congratulate and say, well, you know, upon a retirement, superintendent wanted to tell us, give us a statement on that. And I know that just in a nutshell, I know we'll go into executive session just for briefly, literally briefly, and then we'll come out and then we'll deal with potential appointment of the superintendent of schools. But also, I don't need to have it in executive session, but I would hope that the school committee would give the authorization to the superintendent. We as a school committee do hire a superintendent to advise and consent and work with the superintendent in regards to a special education director, a business manager, director of student services, whatever title I might use in the world of business, the business manager. So I'm hoping that the school committee, they're out there. School committees out there meddle. They meddle in positions. They meddle into you know, saying, we're going to take the interview process over and we're going to look and see. Or they get fully involved and then they override a superintendent's potential recommendation or not even accept their recommendation. So I've only been on the committee since 2007, and now Dr. Allen and Lee and Peg has been here longer. But I've noticed this committee is always, I saw how Ed Leonard did it. I know you probably saw it from other superintendents. They gave the authority to the superintendent to find the right person and then bring it back and bring us and keep us involved into the process. We can, depending on the superintendent, she may want to ask for one of us or two of us to be involved. That's going to be, I think, up to her. And I would hope that our school committee would feel the same, this committee would feel the same. We are going to absolutely miss, she hasn't left, she's here until August, and she, meaning Cheryl, has been wonderful. How many years? 16, 18, 20?
23.
23. And before that,
6 at Wachusett.
6 in Wachusett, so 30 years of business acumen and not only explained and have worked with us, worked with 5 towns, and you spent, geez, your entire life with 5 regional towns and regional districts.
Way to be in this job.
So think about Wachusett and then Quabbin, and then spending 23 years with us. So I'm hoping that the school committee would give the authority to the superintendent to move forward for the hiring, to be able to find the right person for her team in regards to the director of student services.
You want a motion?
I would like a motion, yes.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
What am I?
Authorizing the superintendent to move forward on hiring a business manager.
Yeah, we can't say replacing Cheryl because that would be a bit.
That's impossible.
Yes,
Mhm.
somebody to do that work.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Thank you. Okay. I just wasn't sure of the motion. Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Wait.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Is this a blanket for ever, or is just this one instance?
One instance.
One time.
Okay. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Just real quickly, a request for executive session to discuss strategy and preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. We'll go into executive session, then we'll come out, and then we'll report out and go from there.
So moved.
Second.
And ask roll call for the purposes of going into executive session.
Time. Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps? Mr. Deschamps?
He's
Yes.
muted.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
A motion.
Yeah, that's my motion.
Okay, is there a second? Any further comments, questions? Roll call.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it back here now. Dr. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Willannon?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Garvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Chafee? Mr. Wiggler?
Yes.
Mr. Nutter?
Yes.
Chairman Brophy?
Yes.
So move adjournment.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Good evening, we are adjourned.